So everybody probably recognizes this as Everon. This is the south and looking north. The middle of the island is always going to be the most contested, probably the most opportunity to get the most kills and have the most fun, the most combat and all that kind of stuff. So when I look at this, obviously you got this area here, but it's real wooded. So anybody could use these trees to work their way up to these hills, right? And then even way over here. And this one being the highest point. So this is the highest point. But again, even if you were to build a base here, I feel like there's too many ways that people can come up and get too close to you before you really, without you knowing it, right? So I feel like all these hilltops are probably what people expect to build something on. But what I see is this spot right here really stands out to me. All right, so it's pretty evenly split between all these. If we take this spot right here, it's close enough to this, it's close enough to that, close enough to this, and it's, right, basically right on that. But anybody that was trying to hit this wouldn't actually hit us here. But you almost have like a natural barrier right here where they can't really come from this area because of the water. Now, I mean, they can sneak around and come to this point and then come up, but it makes it much more difficult to even come anywhere from this area. You have to come from here or over here. So that lake is just kind of a natural point, I think, that protects it. Also, by being down in this area, you're going to have cover with your AA guns over this point, over this, any of the air, are trying to come in and take these points. You're going to be able to protect all of this area, which means this point right here is probably, if you set it up here, I think it would be the most contested point. And then you see this right here, there's not a lot of cover for people to get to it. You have a little bit of a tree line here, and you got a tree line here and here and here. But I also think you should probably put a tank right in here somewhere that could look out this way over the base and over the air and over this, even over Provins, right? And then you'd have a tank somewhere in this tree line looking out this way over the base, watching out for this guy as well. Anybody trying to sneak up or whatever, this guy has a view of what's going on with this guy, the base, and all of the air over this area, Fagari and Provins. And then you'd have another tank or armored, just whatever, something heavy with a big gun in the tree line up here, looking south to watch over this guy, and the base. You'd see Provins and Fagari as well. But that would be our safety net right there, that triangle. And then the base being right here. But see, if we're right there, if we're in that spot, I'm not exactly sure how much of the area, air area that we would cover, but I imagine it would be something like this, which means you're basically covering the majority of the center of the island. So I think you're going to have a lot of combat there. Well, it means it'll be harder to hold, but that's going to be I think that's going to be great combat, right? So you'd have a tank unit over here, a tank unit in these trees, and a tank unit in these trees. This guy looking out this way, this guy looking out this way, this guy looking out this way. So they would all be watching each other and over the base. Anybody coming into the base on the road, tanks or whatever, these guys would attack it. Anybody coming in here, these guys would attack it. Anybody coming in here, these guys would attack it before it ever gets to the base. And then, of course, if troops get in, on foot or whatever, sneak up, it is kind of tough. You kind of have to come up the streets right here, and we're going to have guns facing straight out each one of those. So that makes that really tough for infantry or anything to come up with. And then we're going to have a last point right here in the middle, or like what I consider like a last stand. If we're getting pushed so bad, we can get to one spot and basically protect every direction from one spot. It makes us a little bit vulnerable because we're all, you know, relatively close together. But like I say, if it's a last stand, we're probably not going to make it anyway. But I think that would give us the best chance to do that. But I think this area here is clear enough that it makes it difficult for infantry to push in. The high ground all the way around, and then the lake here, but all the higher ground all the way around makes it where any of the air that comes over has to almost skylight themselves over that, which if we're looking up out of that area, like we can see them as soon as they come over. And it's far enough away that, you know, we could get guns on them before they would get close enough to do too much damage too quickly. I think in the military anyways, if you set up a base, you would set it up and these guys would have their job to watch this. They wouldn't really worry about anything back here because they know that the guy set up on this road is doing his job. He's doing his job. Everybody's covering their lane. But that also means we need enough people to actually do this. So if we have 2 guys in a tank here, driver and a gunner, 2 guys in a tank here, driver and gunner, 2 guys in a tank here, driver and gunner, that's 6 already. And that's not even the guys in the middle that are going to be, you know, covering outward from the center. So I think that what makes us the most vulnerable is this direction here. We do have, you know, kind of this protection from this lake, but you do have a tree line here and a tree line here. They can sneak up and try to come up this way. But that's also why I think we need that tank there to be watching that. And then you could sneak up this way, sort of on this tree line. But we definitely have guns looking out this way to make sure. And then AA guns. So you'd have like a 5-point star of AA guns around here, all, you know, covering their lanes. So I'm going to go in here, set up a truck, build a command post, and start doing everything that I think we need to do in stages. And hopefully y'all like the plan, you know. And if not, definitely let me know. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know what I see. And hopefully this will be fun if we can set this up. Because, I mean, if we get enough dudes to do this, it'll be so fun. Because, I mean, everybody's going to have to come here to try to take us out. But anyways, enough talking. Let me get to start building this stuff, and then I'll chop this video up and try to, hopefully it makes sense to everybody. So I guess we can go ahead and set up the tanks, right? So we'll just set up a tank. We'll fake this one this way, and we'll just put him over here in the tree line. And then we'll put one here facing this way. So he's looking out right toward the base. This guy's looking this way, and we'll get one over here. I think it's best to have him just in the front of this, because if you tuck him in here, he can't really see this guy, and you want this guy to be able to, you know, see this road here, which that kind of blocks it, but he'll be able to see this way, all of that. All right, so he'll be able to see this. This guy watches these 2 guys, and this guy watches these 2 guys. All right, so now what I'm going to do is we are going to set a truck in here, construction truck, right there. Bang. Let's put him right here. We're going to drive it forward in just a second and put our command tent in here. But we're going to do the rest of this pretty much legit like we would in the game. Now I'm going to put myself here, and we're going to go into get this done. So first we're going to put this in place. All right, right here under this tree, let's pretend we're in the game and we're going to start building this. Now, we don't need supplies in the Gamemaster for this, but we will definitely need supplies in the real one. So the first thing we're going to have to do is set up our command tent. We'll put an arsenal right here so that if anybody can, like snipers or whatever, can see, you can stand right here in front of each one of these and get your stuff and have cover from the trees, just in case we get a sniper on the spot. We will set up this right here for storage so that little birds or whatever can come in, land in here. I mean, you got to have a decent enough pilot. They're not going to hit this stuff, but this should give you a good platform to deliver lots of supplies on. The trees and stuff would give you cover from this way. And if everybody's doing their job over here, watching their lanes, you shouldn't have any problems there. But that'll give you a place to, a nice flat place to land. and it doesn't stick out as much as a helipad does. We're going to plop this guy right over here just in case. It's kind of out of the way, but we definitely want it there. So we will put a small vehicle depot right here next to this. So if you need a vehicle, you either go here or here. Be out of the way. Now, we don't necessarily have to build these right away, but this is where we would put it if we decide we need to put it. This would be the designated area for this. Let's go ahead and get the tent down. We'll put it right there. And if we needed a helipad, so I think that's probably good right there. So it's right next to the road where you would get one. I want to leave enough room right here so we can put an AA gun there. So now we've got the main tent, our arsenal, the comms tower, some supply storage, large vehicle depot, small vehicle depot, and helicopter. So if you need to get a vehicle, here's where you get it. All right, so now that we got that there, this is probably not going to do much, but this guy has a clear shot of that. That guy has a clear shot of this. These two guys are kind of covering this area here, and these guys are covering anything that's coming from these tree line right here if we have to. Put this right smack in the middle here. But the main point of that is, I mean, you can get in there and have your overlook and everything, but the main point of that is that if somebody is over here shooting into the back of these guys here, they have no protection. But with this here, they do. And with these, it makes it harder also. So that with this guy shooting straight out, he can't really get rounds from this direction or this direction. It kind of, in this side of this window is all his, but then he has protection over here. He has protection from bullets coming from this way and bullets coming from this way while allowing enough of a window for these guys here to clear. And if everybody knows, like, broken arrow or whatever you want to call it, everybody can kind of know to push here. And, if we can get 8 guys or 6 guys or something like that to cover the zones, we should be able to push them off long enough to kind of get our bearings and get back to it. Let's put our AA guns down. So we're going to want one right here right in the center. Like right there should be good. So they'll have a full 360 degree. And then if we put one over here, maybe right there on that hill, and then we're going to want a guy right over here, right there on the edge of that right there. So we got cover back here. He can't really get shot in the back, so that mostly he's looking out this way. This guy's looking out that way. This guy's looking out this way. And we'll put an AA gun this way that'll look out in this direction. And we'll put our last one right here. All right, you see it coming along now. We've got our command tent, arsenal, the radio comms. We got some supply storage here, a kind of a helipad people can land on with a little bird or even a Huey. We got our last stand here. We got our helicopter pad, large vehicle depot, small vehicle depot. And then we got this AA gun basically covering this area. This guy covering this area. This guy mainly covering this area. This guy, this area. And this guy, that area. So you kind of got like a 5-point star there. Looks a little funky, but I wanted them all kind of tucked in pretty close to the base and looking out. We got these concrete pillars here that go all the way around this. And then all the way around here. And we're going to use them to our advantage. Okay, so now let's start building our roadblocks. I like to have this one that's kind of covered up front. And I want this guy probably right behind this tree. And I want him to come out halfway into the road. And then I want to put one of these on the other side of the road, right about there, so that somebody has to drive in and has to slow down to make that turn. And when we do our boundary, we'll have another one of those up here to slow them down before they get to this. And we're going to do this side as well. So I kind of want to stick the first one probably right there. Let's see. Can I get it there? All right. And then we'll see if the other one will fit here. But they'll have to slow down to come around this. And we want to try to do the same thing here. See, where can we put this where it sticks halfway out? Not a lot of options. Let's see if we can use this like a dozer. So after clearing the trees out here, we're back over here. Let's see if we can back this up any. All right, so that should work there. We'll have this guy here. That trash can kind of blocks him over this way. So now let's start building our barricade around here so we can have some protection from the tanks. We're going to use this guy here mostly. Now, I would expect this to provide us with enough cover. It would make it difficult for tanks to get in. We'd have designated places for anybody to try to get into the base. Come around this way. This one's a little bit more, a little tighter. And this one would have to come in this way. So let me go build it all out. There are some vulnerable spots in the perimeter where there was bushes and I couldn't make the fence go all the way. I will now go and booby trap those places just in case. Okay, so now the base is built. Let's take a look at it. All right. Well, let me know what you think and if there's anything we can might do to improve it. And let me know if this is something you might, be involved with. Anyway, look forward to hearing back from y'all.